Elizaveta, you're going to want to tune into our mock interview session on Wednesday. We're going to be doing a practice interview for recruiting.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Monday, July 10th. We hope you're having a fabulous summer so far. We'd like to welcome you to How to Interview in a Competitive Job Market. My name is Albert. I'm your host, founder of Albert's List, and we believe in helping you achieve freedom in your career on your terms with the right skills. And what we're presenting with you today is really just interviewing, right? One of the most basic things that you could ever have when it comes to that job interview. And interviewing is tougher than ever, right? Like if you believe that, raise your hand, say something in the webinar chat. We get to a point now where we go to these job interviews and we get a job interview and it's like the best thing ever because finding a job is just so rough and so tough these days. And so that's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about how to interview in a competitive job market. And the purpose of today's webinar is we're going to give you some really quick tips and tricks and some basics on how to be a good interviewer in this market. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you can sign up for afterwards, which is our 5-week interviewing boot camp, which starts next Monday, July 17th, and runs through mid-August, just in time to get you ready for the fall interviewing season. And so to get this ready, today I have Corey Hiramoto, founder of CareerShakers.com, longtime Albert's List thought leader. He does all our mock interviews and has done like 70 of them since the beginning of the pandemic. And he's also a Fortune 100 recruiter. And so he understands uniquely what it is that hiring managers are looking for, the stories you need to tell, and the excitement that you need to build. So ultimately, when it comes to giving you that offer, you are that person. So without further ado, Corey, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you and let you take it from here. Thanks for coming back and joining us.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And as Albert mentioned, this is one of the craziest job markets we've seen in a very long time. Luckily, it's not as bad as when we had the Great Recession or the dot-com bust. But a lot of the folks in the chat are based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and which is known for having one of the stronger job markets, particularly because a lot of the tech companies are based here. But even in the tech industry right now, it's super competitive. There aren't that many job openings, and it's highly competitive because even if there is a job opening, it's usually for a company that you've never heard of, maybe a company you don't necessarily want to work for, but there's been a lot of layoffs in tech, and you're going to be competing with people who are coming from very strong backgrounds. There are folks from Meta, from Google, from Amazon, from Microsoft, all who have been laid off and will also need to find work. And for those of you who are interested in hybrid or remote roles, your level of competition is even higher because if you are applying for a fully remote role, in the past, you were just competing with the people in your market, right? Whoever could go to the same office as you, make the commute, drive, etc. That was your competition. But if you want a fully remote role, you are now competing with the entire United States, sometimes even internationally. So it's highly, highly competitive, and you're going to need to know how to actually land those jobs. And in this webinar series today, we're going to be talking about why it's so competitive and how you can actually do something about it. And this is going to be a little bit more of an interactive webinar. I don't like to run stuff that's like a lecture. I feel like that's all boring. We've all, gone to school before. So this is going to be pretty interactive. So feel free to utilize the chat function. We are in the webinar format, so you won't be able to use your microphone or camera or anything like that. So please do use the chat. I have that up on my screen as well. So I'll be able to see all the questions and things as they come through. And for those of you who just joined us, feel free to also network a little bit while I'm talking and going through some of the concepts here. Feel free to put in your name, your company, your job title, and what you're looking for, and maybe you can make some new connections today. We want everybody to get as much value as possible. And I will keep it pretty interactive as well. So if I do see a question in the chat, I will answer it hopefully as we go along, but we're also going to have time at the end for Q&A. So let's start on the spirit of being interactive here, everybody. Let's get a little involved. Why don't we start with this? What do you all think is the most important part of your job search? Put it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. Is your resume the most important? Is it networking, etc.? There is an overwhelming amount of networking being said here. Like so many people are saying B. So many people. There's some C, but there's a lot of B. Yep, that makes sense. I feel like that makes sense. That's normal. It's very normal. Very, very normal. All right. So I think a lot of you are going to be surprised, especially based on what I can see from the chat here. It's actually not B. It's not the most important part of your job search. And in a highly competitive job market like today, even more so. And I'll explain why. So starting from top to bottom, your resume. Obviously, this is a very important part of the job search. This is basically a summary of your skills, your experience. You need a resume to apply for a job. You need a resume to get a job. You can get eliminated by the ATS system and the bots. We've heard all those horror stories. I totally understand. However, as someone who works in the recruiting and HR world, I can tell you, I've seen some people get hired with some pretty ugly resumes. And your resume is basically a snapshot of your experience in a given point in time. And a lot of what makes the difference on your resume is the company that you work for. Obviously, if you work for a top tier company in your specific industry, when you're applying for other jobs in that industry, your company brand will carry you quite a bit of ways away. And of course, we don't condone this, but I've heard and seen cases of people who also lie on their resume so they can get more job interviews. So while your resume is important, it is not the most important part of your job search. Your resume just allows you to get a foot into the door, right? And then they're going to need to see if what you put on your resume is true, obviously. And some people just may be limited by their resume, and you may be applying for maybe the wrong type of job, the wrong level of a job. There's many different factors that could impact your success purely just on the resume. So it's important, but not the most important. Now, no, B, a lot of people were saying networking is the most important part of the job search, but very similar to A, actually, networking allows you to get in front of a recruiter, allows you to get your resume in front of a hiring manager when you may not have been able to do it on your own, just applying online. Networking does open additional doors for you. Absolutely. But all it does is get your foot into the door because you can't get a job with just a referral or just by networking. Even if you know an executive at the company, you're going to need to do what? You're going to need to interview, right? So even if you get a super strong referral and you do a bunch of networking and maybe you weren't necessarily someone they would normally pick based on your resume or your LinkedIn, but you got a good referral, right? So they're probably going to give you a chance to interview when you can talk to the hiring manager. So all networking does is it opens more doors for you and lets you get in front of more people. But at the end of the day, you can't just get a job with only networking. And that's why C is actually the most important part. You need to interview well. And in a highly competitive job market, this is an employer's market, which means they have so many applications, so many good candidates applying that they can be very picky about who they choose. Sure, you may look good on paper, but guess who else looks good on paper? The other 250 people that also applied for the same Indeed job as you or the same LinkedIn job as you. And so how are they going to choose who to hire? Well, it's going to be based on how you interview, right? That's the only way that they can actually make a very confident decision that they're hiring the right person. It's all going to be down to your interviewing. Now let's talk about D very briefly. D actually is pretty important, and this is actually something that may cause you not to get a job is if they do reference checks. And that could even be references from within the company that you are already applying to. Because let's be honest, right? If you apply to a company and there's someone at that company who has worked with you before, they're going to find out about it, or the company is going to straight up ask them, right? Hey, have you worked with Corey? Is he good? Is he bad? Should we hire him? This could be a reason why you're not getting picked, but it's not the most important part of the job search. All right. Hopefully this gives a little bit more context and also should give some framing as to why you all are probably here today and why we are creating a whole boot camp purely around helping you get better at interviewing because it truly is the most important part of the job search. What can they legally ask a reference? Anything that does not cover any personal or private information. So they can't ask anything about like sex, religion, gender, um, race, but they can ask anything related to your work and performance. All right, so we already covered introductions. I'm Corey, that's Albert. We will be your advisors throughout this process. No, Dina, for reference checks, they can ask about your performance because that's the whole point, right? Just because they want to make sure that you are a good performer and that they're hiring someone who has matched everything or actually has done everything that is on the resume. That's also one thing too, is don't over embellish too much what happens on your resume because if there is a reference check, they may be asking some people about that project that you did or that you have claimed to have done. So that's another place where things could be a little tricky. All right. Now, of course, Albert and I have been working together for a little over 2 years now, and we've organized quite a few events. And as you mentioned, we've done over 70 mock interviews already. And as you can see here, we've got some testimonials. There were some people that him and I had personally given some advice to through the mock interviews, and they were actually able to improve their interviewing skills and get a job. This first person actually got a 25% salary hike. So we do know what we're talking about, and we were able to take all of the information that we've gotten and consolidate that and put it into a well-structured and formatable content. Almost nobody reads cover letters, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. So today, this is what we're going to be covering. And if you see something on here that you thought we were going to cover, but we're not going to cover, use the chat function. I want to make sure I can address everybody's concerns and topics as they're thinking. We're going to be talking about number one, do you even need help with interviewing? I feel like that's probably the first place we should all start, right? Many of us probably believe we're very good at interviewing, and that's very possible. Interviewing is a skill, right? So if you've been practicing it, you've been honing your stories, you've been watching YouTube videos from the Albert's List channel or from the Career Shakers channel, it's very possible that you don't even need help. But first, we're going to help you answer that question for yourself and see if this is something that you should be investing in. All right, now if it turns out maybe we do need a little bit of help with the interviewing, we want to optimize our chances, we want to be the best interviewer in a competitive market, what are we actually going to learn through the 5 weeks that we're going to be spending together? And then, of course, how are we actually going to get better, right? How do I take all these things that we're supposed to be learning and investing, and how am I going to see results? And then, of course, we got time for Q&A at the end. I'm doing well at selection criteria. What is selection criteria? Not sure what that is. I would love more context. I love more context on that. Okay, so let's dive on in here. Again, keeping it interactive. I want to help all of you. How are your interviewing skills? Let's start with a little quiz. Now, keep in mind, when you are interviewing in a highly competitive job market, when you want to get hired and you want to separate yourself, differentiate yourself, stand out from the crowd, right? We hear that all the time. How do you stand out from everybody else? How do I get picked out of everybody else? How come I'm the finalist, but then they always go with somebody else? They always say, oh, this person had healthcare background and you don't have healthcare background. So that's why we didn't pick you. That's not true, right? Most companies, most recruiters, we actually can't give you real feedback, full feedback, because we don't want to get ourselves into legal trouble. So we'll pick something that is out of your control, that's very general, and we'll use that as our feedback for most candidates. But in all honesty, if you are the finalist, like you've done a full panel of interviews, you were someone that they were willing to hire, right? Maybe you applied for a healthcare job and you've never, or I should say, you've applied for a job in the healthcare industry, right? But you have not worked in the healthcare industry. Maybe you worked in tech or something. You get to the final rounds and then they say, "Oh, sorry, we went with somebody else because they have healthcare background and you don't. Sorry." That's not the real reason why they chose them. Obviously, if that was super important, then they wouldn't have let you do 5 interviews, right? Why would they spend 4.5 hours with you or 5 hours with you if they were just going to reject you because you've never worked in the healthcare industry? It obviously doesn't make any sense. So how you are going to stand out and how you're going to get picked, how you're going to be the finalist, how you're going to get more job offers is you need to know what your secret sauce is. All of you have done amazing, incredible things that are extremely unique to your experience and your roles. You need to be able to highlight these appropriately using your stories or your interview answers to these interviewers and hiring managers so they can see that you are one of the best candidates for their specific position, right? This is your secret sauce, which is something a lot of people struggle with is understanding what is truly your secret sauce and your differentiators, and then knowing how to incorporate that into your answers. So let's start with this first exercise here. True or false? And I know not all of you work in marketing, but I chose marketing because I think everybody kind of knows what marketing is, right? So true or false? If you work in marketing, if you were able to increase revenue by 20% for your company, 20%, 20, that makes you great at marketing. All right, one more time. True or false? If you work in marketing and you were able to increase revenue for your product or for your business unit or for whatever it is by 20%, then this makes you great at marketing. This is your differentiator. This is your secret sauce. Your secret sauce. They should hire you because you were able to increase revenue by 20 whole percent, 20. There's like some falses. There's kind of a lot of falses, but I see some trues too. How did you? Yeah, yeah, okay. So I think people are kind of getting onto it. So the answer is false. It's false. And the reason why it's false is because what is the definition of marketing? The definition of marketing is you invest money into marketing to get a higher return on the money in which you have invested, right? So the whole point of working in marketing is to increase revenue. So if you work in marketing, you are a marketing manager, you are a social media marketer, and you've increased revenue by 20%. That's good. That's good for the company, obviously. But at the end of the day, that is your job, right? Your job in marketing is to increase revenue for the company. If you are not increasing revenue and you work in marketing, then you're probably doing your job wrong, right? We can all agree that if you are not making more money for the company and you work in marketing, you're probably going to get fired or your marketing function just does not work because then you just be losing money all the time, which obviously makes no sense. So this is not a differentiator. I'll say it again. This is not a differentiator. This is not your secret sauce. Now, I could see everyone in the chat being like, "Oh, that's so obvious." No, because let's like, and this isn't just for marketing. I've seen this all the time. A lot of people assume that by doing your job, that's what makes you great. Now, if you were able to increase revenue by, let's say, 70%, assuming it's not a startup or something that started with zero revenue, right? Maybe you're at like a Fortune 100 company, right? And you were able to increase revenue for something by like 70%. That could be a differentiator, right? 70% at a Fortune 100 company, that's pretty insane, right? Almost unheard of. So that could be a differentiator. Absolutely. But if it's 20%, 10%, 5%, right? Like that's your job. That doesn't make you amazing. How many other people who work in marketing are also going to say that they increase revenue by 10, 15, 20%, right? Kind of the same. Now, maybe though, how you were able to increase it by 20% was in a super unique and creative way. Maybe you invented some new form of social media marketing that no company has ever even thought of before, right? Or maybe you did a whole brand revamp first, which then led to this increase in revenue over up 20% or something like that, right? So sometimes it could be the how, but just saying that you increased revenue by 20%, that doesn't mean you're the best person in marketing that they can hire, right? So that's just one quick example of thinking about differentiators. Okay, let me just check the chat real quick. Could have swore I saw something in here. Is it legal to say we don't have enough experience? I was told that, but next time I can get told that I'm gonna go back to you, so you're making a complaint. I don't know to who. I mean, yeah, legally we can tell you that we don't feel like you meet the minimum qualifications for a role. Yeah, or we could say some other candidate had more healthcare experience than you or something like that. That's legal to say. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, cool. Think I got it down. Can I give another example in another field other than marketing? But what would like feel like everyone knows marketing. People also would know like sales, I guess. So if you work in sales and you say you were able to exceed your quota by 150%, right? Sure, that's good. But how many other people in sales do you think are going to put on their resume that they exceeded their quota? Everybody, right? Like no one's going to put their on their resume, "Oh, I never met quota." Right? Obviously, then they would look really bad and that would mean you're bad at sales. So, uh hopefully that's like another example. All right, here's another one. Now, this one, I don't want you to answer the question. What I want you all to do is I want you to tell me in the chat, what is this question really asking? Okay. So if an interviewer asks you, tell me about yourself, what are they really asking you? Or what do they truly want to know? Or why are they asking you this question? Right? What do they care about? Elevator pitch of your professional self. No. I mean, that's what you have to do, right? When they ask you this question, that's what they have to do. They want to get at what you are passionate about. No. Uh, Remember, this is an employer's market, right? They are paying you a paycheck. You are not paying them to come work for them, right? They're going to pay you to come and work for them. And so at the end of the day, do they care about what you're passionate about? No, not really. I mean, because they're going to be paying you. They can hire you, or they could hire 200 other 50 people that apply to their Indeed job posting, right? This is an employer's market. So they're not asking you this because they want to know what you're passionate about. Tell me why you are a good fit for this role. Yep. Do you fit the culture? Can you do the job? Now, can we elaborate? What does it mean to be a good fit, though? Someone got it right. Asking for your special sauce. I kind of led you down that way, but well done. Absolutely. So what they're really asking you, whenever someone asks you, tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume, why should we hire you? They're really asking, based on the responsibilities and scope of my role, this role at this company, why are you the best, best candidate that I can hire? Based on the responsibilities and scope, very important, scope of the role, why are you the best candidate that I can possibly hire? That is what this question is truly asking. They do not want you to say, well, I graduated from Santa Clara University in 2010 when I studied accounting. And then at my first job, I was a senior accountant. And then at my second job, I was a senior manager accountant. And then at my third job, that is not what they want to know, right? They do not want you to recap your resume because they've obviously seen it if they're interviewing you. So what they want to know is based on what I need right now in this company, why are you the best person for me to hire out of all of the other people in sales, marketing, accounting, finance, legal, HR? that I can possibly hire today? Now, how you can answer this question is before you even answer this, you ask the hiring manager or the recruiter to give you additional context about the job that is not in the job description. Questions you want to ask are, what are the immediate projects that this person would be working on? Or what are some of the skill sets that are currently missing on the team that they are looking to hire? Those are two very key questions that you need to ask before you answer the question. Tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume, why should I hire you? Then, what based on what they tell you, you need to do some type of maybe you need to branch off or help them break into an international market, right, for their marketing campaign. Or maybe they are looking for someone who has done cloud sales for small businesses, SMB. That's ideally who they want to hire in their SDR role or their account executive role. With that information, then you need to customize your answer based on your experience and what you've done and highlight only what's relevant for them in that particular position. Your communication is also going to be important, but they'll be looking for that throughout all of the answers. All right. So hopefully some of you now know how to properly answer the tell me about yourself question. Yep. What is your special sauce? Absolutely. What should be done if the recruiter does not respond to those questions? Well, they'd probably be a really bad recruiter if they don't know what they're hiring for. But if they don't, then you're just going to have to give your general tell me about yourself answer that you've been practicing. But you need to focus on your special sauce and your differentiators. You need to show them that you are the best person in your company, on your team, etc. Nope, it cannot. Well, I guess it depends on how you say it. It could be perceived as rude, depending on how you say it. But if you just ask, "Oh, that's a very good question, but I have quite a bit of marketing experience, and I just want to make sure that I can customize and tailor my response to what you're looking for. And I've only been able to look at the online job description. Would you be able to provide a little bit more context on what particular projects or skill sets you're specifically looking for in this type of role?" And then they'll give you some context and then you can dive into your answer, right? But if you're like, I can't answer this because I don't know what the job is, then that could be perceived as potentially rude. I've done this in all my interviews and I've been able to get hired at multiple companies. So I think it's probably how you ask it that is very important. Your answer for this should be around like somewhere between like 1 and 2 minutes, generally not longer. All right. Next one. True or false? True or false? I interview people for my company and for my team. So I don't really need to practice for interviewing because I already know what to look for. I already know what a good interview answer is. I'm an interviewer at my company. I interview people. I'm a hiring manager, actually. I hire people. I don't need to practice interviewing. This one's pretty easy. Everyone says false, but you'd be surprised how many people tell me this. Or they'll say, I don't need to practice that much because I'm an interviewer. So I already know what good is. So maybe I'll practice like 10 minutes or something. Everybody needs to practice. Everybody needs to practice. Remember, super competitive job market. You need to show them that you are the best. All right, next one. And let me give you some context before all of you try to answer it. So, the best way to answer a hypothetical interview question. A hypothetical interview question is any interview question that does not start with, tell me about a time when you did blank. Those are behavioral questions. So, hypothetical questions, and they're really popular these days, all the top companies ask these. Hypothetical questions are basically they're going to present to you an imaginary or hypothetical scenario. So, they're going to say something like, hey, Imagine I hired you in this role and I asked you to do blank, whatever it is that you do, marketing, accounting, finance, HR, sales, operations. Imagine I hired you and asked you to do blank or solve this problem for my company. How would you do that? That is a hypothetical question. Okay. So based on the options, how do you answer this type of question? Do you use the STAR method, situation, task, action, result? Do you ask them how they would potentially do it? Maybe you give a short answer first and then see if they like it and then see what they ask you and then kind of go from there. Or should you ask clarifying questions and then establish some type of like framework or structure? It's mixed. This is a tough question. I can see it. D and then A. I see some A, C or D, some C's. All right. So hypothetical interview questions are one of the hardest ones that you're going to be getting. And for anyone who's made it to like the final rounds or like the on-site interviews, there's just going to be a lot of hypothetical questions. Companies love to ask hypothetical questions because it forces people to show us what you actually know and how deep or how well you know a concept or can actually do something in the job. Hypothetical questions also weed out people who have lied on their resume or have over embellished things on their resume or maybe have taken credit for projects that they weren't actually involved in. So hypothetical questions are companies' new favorite types of questions to ask. So you need to know how to answer these if you want to get job offers. And the best way to do it is not to use the STAR method. So the STAR method is for behavioral interview questions, right? You talk about the situation, the task, the action, and the result. You do not use it for hypothetical questions because this is an imaginary scenario at a company that you do not work at, right? So they're saying, if I hired you here, how would you solve this problem in my company? You cannot say, oh, well, let me tell you about a time when I solved a very similar problem, but not at your company. That's not what they want to know. They want to know. Can you hear me now? Woo. Okay, we got it. Sorry about that, everybody. Having some technical difficulties here. This is why I have the chat open so I can actually see things. Okay, so um, The answer, the answer is D. The answer is D. Okay, and here's why. You do not use the STAR method. The STAR method is for behavioral questions. The STAR method is situation, task, action, result, right? The reason why you don't use it here is because this is a imaginary scenario at their company for this job that you don't have yet. So they want you to tell them how you would solve this problem for their company. So you don't want to say, oh, let me tell you about a time where I solved that at not your company, because the context is different, right? Their role is different, their company is different, their products may be different. So you're not supposed to talk about something you've already done. B, obviously, is not correct. You should never ask them how to do it. C is also wrong. You almost never really want to give a short answer to any interview question. And in fact, if you notice your interviewer is asking you a lot of follow-up questions, that's actually one of the key signs that you can tell your interview is not going well. So when you do get asked a hypothetical interview question, you want to make sure that you are first asking like maybe one or two clarifying questions to frame the scenario and give yourself some parameters. I saw it in the chat earlier that someone was asked a very vague and open-ended hypothetical question in their interview, and companies do that on purpose because they want to see how you can organize your thoughts and how you can create and formulate some type of plan and strategy for them from scratch, right? This is how they're going to know that you truly know what you're talking about. This is how they're going to know that you actually are good at your job and that you have the skills that are needed. So let's just say I'll pick something in sales because I think everybody understands sales, right? So imagine you're applying for a sales job and they say, okay, imagine we hired you here as one of our account executives or our sales managers. And one of our biggest customers is thinking about canceling their contract with us. How would you go about turning around this customer and saving the deal? Right? That's a hypothetical interview question. Now, there's many different ways you can try to solve this, talk about a time when you had the same situation, how you turned it around. There's many different sales techniques you can use, but you don't have enough information actually to properly answer the question. So you're going to want to ask a few clarifying questions first to give yourself some parameters, right? Define the box in which you were going to be playing in to make the question a little bit easier for yourself. Also, if you have certain skills that you know you are good at or would prefer to leverage, then try to steer your interview answer towards those skills so that you're not setting yourself up for failure. Because whenever you do a hypothetical interview question, they're going to ask you like, "Hey, imagine we changed one of these variables, right? Maybe you thought you could do this, but you couldn't." Or maybe they want you to take option A and then they want you to go back and show them what would happen if you took option B. Why is option B not as good as option A, right? Those are some of the questions that they may ask you. And so you're going to want to steer the conversation, steer the answer towards areas you are more comfortable with. And of course, whenever you are answering a very open-ended interview question, or just like when you had to write an essay, right, in school or for your English class, you're going to want to have some type of structure and some type of framework. You don't just want to be shooting off ideas and answers and solutions randomly from the hip. Even though your solutions or ideas may be good ones, there needs to be some structure around it. Otherwise, it doesn't make your answer seem strong, right? Oh, and so in terms of frameworks, whenever you're answering hypothetical questions, you either want to structure your answer around steps, right? Like first I would do this, then I would do this. If this doesn't happen or this doesn't go well, then I would consider doing this or consider doing this. Or you want to structure your answer around key themes or topics or concepts, right? And first, so you're going to share with the interviewer, okay, so in general, I would approach this problem by doing these three things. Just give them a high level overview of each of the three things, and then you can go back and do a deeper dive in each of those. That's the best way to answer a hypothetical question. Are there fields that get these questions more often than others? Yes, all corporate jobs, even engineering, will get hypothetical interview questions. I'm not too well versed. Oh, and healthcare. I know a lot of folks who work in like nursing and stuff. Almost all of your interviews are basically hypothetical, because they want to see how you would work with a certain patient. Right? Gotta make sure I didn't miss anything here while my headphones went out. What can the former employer say since I was wrongfully terminated? Oh, that seems like a very specific case. I'm so sorry to hear that. All right. Waited for bated breath. Sorry about that. Yep. Sorry, everybody. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, cool. I think I'm all caught up. I think I'm all caught up here. All right. So let's move on to the next one here. So how did we all do? This was just a quick quiz to kind of assess all of our interviewing skills as they currently stand today. How did you all do? Did you get one question, two questions, three questions, right? All three right. Excellent. Excellent. This should give you a good gauge of kind of where your interviewing skills are at as of today and what you may want to be working on for the future. They cannot ask about disabilities. Okay, cool, cool. So hopefully this gives everyone a good sense of kind of your initial baselines. And now let's talk about if you've recognized that there are some areas that you may want to work on, some interviewing skills that you may want to hone and practice to get better so that you can figure out what your secret sauce is or help differentiate yourself from everybody else, how are you actually going to be able to do that? And this is genuinely how you can get better at interviewing. This is how I got better at interviewing. This is how Albert got better at interviewing. This are the key things that you need to know. So obviously there are the interview fundamentals. You need to know what the STAR method is. Some people call it the CAR method or whatever, but you need to know how to answer the behavioral interview questions. Those are your fundamentals. You need to know about good body language. You need to know about your tone of voice. You need to know what questions to ask and what questions not to ask. You need to know how long your answers should be for certain types of questions, right? Those are the fundamentals that everybody needs to know. Then we're going to build on top of that. You need to know what your differentiators are. And for all of you, it's going to be very different depending on the field that you work in or the job that you have or what you've been able to accomplish for yourself and your companies. But you need to know what sets you apart from everybody else. And the three areas that I always encourage people to look at, number one is the complexity, right? The complexity of the problem that you had to solve or the complexity of the solution that you were able to provide. Number two could be if it's not complexity, right? If you weren't solving something super complex, then maybe it came down to the creativity of it, right? Maybe you were able to create something from scratch, build something from scratch. Maybe you identified a problem that no one even knew was a problem until you came along and then you solved it. So maybe it wasn't super complex, but it relied on a very creative solution to do it, or you needed to be creative to even identify the problem. That's another way to differentiate yourself. And then the third way, which is not my favorite way because everyone will claim that they have done this, is based on the impact, right? Is the impact in which you've had on the company, the product, or your team. Now, I don't like that one because that's what everyone always focuses on, and everyone's going to seem like they did a big impact, like we did on the marketing example, right? I increased revenue by 20% through my digital marketing campaigns. Like, is that the most powerful differentiator based on impact? Like, how many other people in marketing are going to say the same thing as you? Kind of a lot. So I always think people should focus on the first two. Now, the trickier one, which if possible, is thinking about scalability and scale. So maybe you were able to solve something for your team or your product, right? Or your function. And then you were able to then take your solution or your idea and then scale it out, expand it. So what you did with your team, you were then able to help the rest of the company or the rest of the products in your category, right? So scaling something out could also be a way in which you have differentiated yourself. All right. Okay. Of course, after you've got your differentiators and you know your fundamentals, you need to know what are the most common interview questions and how to properly answer them. As we shown with tell me about yourself, you need to know what they're actually asking, and then you can craft the best possible answer for yourself. The other tricky one is why do you want to work here? That's a very common interview question, as well as what are your salary expectations? Those are the ones that you need to know how to have the proper answers for. And then we're going to get into some advanced stuff in our program as well, but being able to predict and analyze interview questions as they come up, or even just from the job description, right? I'm going to teach you how to read the job description and accurately predict what types of interview questions you could expect. I've done this for all the mock interview sessions, and people have told me pretty much all the questions I asked them in the mock interviews have come up in their interviews, and they felt very well prepared. And sometimes you're going to be asked a question that you haven't heard of before or you haven't practiced yet. But no need to panic. Once you know how to analyze an interview question on the spot, you'll be able to understand what is the best example to share, what is the best story to share, and which of the interviewing techniques you need to use or apply in order to answer the question properly. So that's a little bit more of an advanced technique, but it is going to be extremely helpful, especially for those of you applying for senior management and above roles. Okay, let's check the chat that's blowing up here. What do you do if you are asked an illegal question? Uh, Depends, I guess, on what it is, but you can always feel free to say that you do not feel comfortable answering that type of question. What do you say when interviewers ask illegal questions? I mean, like examples of illegal questions are they may ask you like, "Oh, are you pregnant?" or like, "What is your ethnicity?" You could just say that I do not feel comfortable answering that question. And if they do ask that, probably a red flag. May not want to go and work there. Can you add data to your impact? Absolutely. That's how you can make your impact or your story more believable is whenever you have numbers added to it. Definitely. Is it good when they say you gave some creative examples? I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh, why do they ask in the interview? Why do they often ask in the phone screen, where are you in your interview process? So we ask you that because we need to know if we are behind schedule, ahead of schedule, or kind of on time with the other companies. We need to know if you're expecting other competing offers. So we know if we need to rush our interviews, like how quickly we need to move to get everything ready together. Ah, yes, this is an important one. I often get very anxious during my interviews, no matter how often I practice or perform mock interviews. Tips to help. Yes. And I actually think the biggest one is probably something that you've thought of, but isn't probably thought of in this way. And that is when you are able to when you feel super comfortable with your stories and with your differentiators or you know what your secret sauce is, then there's almost no question that you won't be able to answer. And having that level of confidence, knowing that there's never going to be an interview question that you won't know how to answer, will usually relieve any potential type of anxiety that someone may get during an interview. Because the biggest reason people feel anxious or people feel nervous during an interview is because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, what if they ask me a question that I am not ready for? That's the biggest reason why everyone feels anxious, right? Or it's because you feel like you didn't practice enough, but generally everyone practices, right? So it's usually the thought in the back of their mind that what if they ask me something that I don't have an answer to and I blank out? That's everyone's biggest fear in an interview, and that's where the anxiety comes from. But the biggest mistake that people make is memorizing answers just purely based on questions. And that's not what we recommend that you do. You need to be very confident. You need to know all of your interview stories forwards and backwards from the middle and inside out. And that's going to give you the confidence that there's no question you can't answer. All right, cool. I see a lot of questions popping up. Don't worry, I'm gonna get through as many of those as I can in a second. So let's talk about our interviewing bootcamp, how you can actually interview well in a super competitive job market. So in the 5 weeks, we're going to cover quite a bit. And we're going to be meeting for about an hour to 2 hours once a week. And you're going to have homework. Don't, it's homework. Yes, it's homework, but I promise it's worth it because it's actually going to help you get better at interviews, which means you can get jobs, you can make more money. So this is truly an investment. So you're going to have some homework exercises, which will help you figure out your differentiators, your secret sauce, help you build up your fundamentals, help you cover some areas that you didn't know were potentially weaknesses. And then we're going to dive into the more advanced interviewing techniques. As I mentioned, like being able to analyze a job description, being able to analyze an interview question as it gets asked to you so you can predict what are they truly trying to understand? What is the best story that you need to be sharing? We're also going to give you some other tips and tricks that you can use so that you can relieve anxiety and feeling nervous, how to improve your body language, things like that. And then, of course, we're going to help you hopefully properly negotiate your job offers as you get them in this super competitive market. Because one of the greatest advantages of being really good at interviewing that no one talks about is it allows you to negotiate for more money, sometimes even more money outside of the salary range that they told you about. That's the power, the true power of having really good, like world-class interviewing skills is your negotiating power goes up significantly. Why? Is because the company now is so invested in getting you to choose them that they would be willing to pay you a little bit more than other people. But that's only if you can truly impress them. And how you can truly impress them is the interviews. Yes, your resume could also be impressive, but if you just interview and you're like average, right? No one's going to be blown away by you. No one's going to be like, "Oh, I need to have Corey on my team." Like you can't let those other companies have him. They're only going to feel that way if you can blow them away in your interviews. That's the only way. All right. So I think we're able to get to the very end of it at the top of the hour, and I'm going to work through as many of the questions in the chat as I can. But if you have questions, reach out to Albert's Job Listings and Referrals. It's a fantastic Facebook group if any of you have not joined. And you can also check out, both of us have YouTube channels. I just took a screenshot of mine. It's Career Shakers, all one word. But Albert's List also has a YouTube channel as well. You can check out all of the webinars and recordings that are posted there. Feel free to engage with both of us if you have questions. And let me work through the questions in the chat here. Is it normal for interviewers to bring up that your past jobs were short? Yes. It's a big concern typically for hiring managers and recruiters if you've been jumping around from company to company. The biggest reason is we want to know why. Like, hopefully it's not due to performance, but that's kind of what we are worried about. And as long as you can address that concern or that you're not a flight risk, that's really the only things that you need to address there. What if you don't have any confidence? Well, I think confidence comes from two things, but we'd have to work on it together. But I think two things is confident knowing that you've done everything you could to study and prepare for something. That's one way to get confidence. And the other way is what I talked about is knowing that there isn't really an interview question that can trip you up or that will make you blank on something. Or the other way that you would feel confident is if you are applying for a job that you know you are qualified for. I think one of the biggest places for imposter syndrome, and I myself did a career switch 6 years ago, and I felt that as well, is if you are trying to switch careers, switch jobs, switch industries, you may feel some type of imposter syndrome when you are applying for these jobs. But one thing I always tell people is if you applied for a job and they chose to interview you, they gave you an interview, even if you're switching careers, switching industries, that should give you confidence. It tells you that these people have looked at your resume. They know that you don't match 100% of the qualifications. They know that you're doing a career switch, but they still wanted to interview you. That is a really good sign, right? That should give you confidence that, hey, I have the transferable skills. Like another person, a total stranger, looked at my resume and thinks I have the transferable skills to do this job for them. That should give you confidence as well. Thank you for that advice as well, Brian. We appreciate it. How do you ensure with the hiring manager you are not a proxy finalist? Well, it's being a really good interviewer at the end of the day, right? If you're a finalist, or maybe, and this is something too, if you are asked to do an additional interview for example, maybe a company tells you they typically do 4 rounds of interviews, right? You do 4 rounds of interviews and they ask you to do one more. If they ask you to do an additional interview, that means you are a finalist. There's maybe two of you, maybe three sometimes, but typically there's just two of you left. And what that means is if if it's super close, they're going to use this as a tiebreaker interview. That's how they're going to choose which one that they want to hire. Or or maybe they really like you based on your resume or your job referral or something, and maybe you kind of bombed one of the interviews and they want to give you one more chance to kind of turn things around. So if you get asked to do an extra interview or one that you weren't planning on, make sure you're honing on those interviewing skills because that's really what they're looking for. And also, if you're not, in order to not be a proxy finalist, you need to show them that you are the perfect fit for what they need right now, which is why asking for more context on the role or some of the projects that they're working on is going to help you tailor your story and your experience so that they realize, oh, wow, you check all the boxes for me and you are not a proxy finalist. Mine is career shakers, not job shakers, career shakers. What is a good way to handle requests for references? My roles all as an IT contractor, and I've been on a very long sabbatical. No references since I don't keep in touch with the team members or vendors I work with. Can't even remember their names. You're gonna have to find some. I mean, if they need references, you're gonna have to find someone who is a reference, maybe like a former man. I mean, typically when we do reference checks, we want at least one manager. It doesn't have to be the manager from your current company, obviously, because you don't want them to know you're leaving. But at least one former manager is going to be very helpful. Ideally, someone who worked directly with you as well. Most companies, like, I think, do like 2 external references. So you're going to want to find or try to remember someone who was a former manager at some of your jobs somewhere. Yeah. Any advice for older workers? Yes, unfortunately, there is some age discrimination out there. One thing that I would say is there are creative ways you can format your resume so that people don't necessarily know intuitively how much experience you have, I should say. And that's one way to get yourself at least an interview. And then from there, if you show them based on your interviews that you are a strong candidate, you've got enough differentiators, then the age part should not make as much of a difference. How do you react when they say, so you only have this much experience in this skill? Well, that's actually very good feedback, right? Because that would tell you, okay, maybe you're doing a bit of a career switch, or maybe they are looking for us. Maybe they didn't give you context on the job, but when you share how many years you've been doing something or what you've been doing in your current role, that would tell you what they're specifically looking for in their position. Right. So maybe you're doing, I'll choose marketing again, right? Maybe you're applying for a social media marketing role and you start talking about how you have been doing a lot of Google, like Google, Facebook, and TikTok is primarily what you do for your social media ad campaigns. And they ask you, okay, how much experience do you have running LinkedIn ads? And you say, oh, I've got some experience, but my company doesn't really, utilize LinkedIn too much as a channel. Then they may say, oh, so you have very little experience using LinkedIn advertisements. So that would kind of tell you, okay, for their position, they are looking for somebody who has a lot of experience with LinkedIn advertising, for example. Yes, if you sign up and are unable to attend the sessions, they will be recorded and posted, but only members who have signed up for the bootcamp can watch the recordings. How do you analyze the job description? Well, you're going to want to ignore all the soft skills, like, being a hard worker, ambitious, cross-functional, creative thinker, collaboration, teamwork. Ignore all those and focus on all of the hard, tangible, technical skills that you see in the job description, and then formulate interview questions on those. And we will show you how to do that. What's a good explanation or reply in response to having hopped around lately? So everybody kind of got a break with COVID in 2020. Like if your company was impacted, your role was impacted, your company had layoffs and you needed to find work. some like a lot of people will give you a break from like the 2020 to like 2022 time frame if you had to move from company to company because companies were hiring and then laying off and all that stuff. So try to use some of the global economic shifts as a reason to address where you maybe have jumped around. Maybe you joined a company, they promised you a certain job, and the roles and responsibilities weren't what they advertised to you. Um, or maybe you joined a company and you realized the culture fit wasn't quite there, or you and your manager, didn't really get along with their leadership style. As long as you can show that it's not performance and it's not that you're just job hoppy, right? Can you speak about the what is your greatest weakness? Yeah, so I have a whole video on that on my channel at the Career Shakers, but short answer TLDR is you want to share a weakness that's not important to the job. That's the biggest mistake everybody makes is they get too honest and they share something that's like really important for the job. You want to pick a weakness that's not super critical. So for me, I choose public speaking. And then of course, your answer also needs to talk about how you are working on improving that weakness over time. It shows self-awareness and growth. I am concerned about sharing my references from the most recent position as I was laid off during an LOA, though was there over 4 years. I wonder what they'll say. Then you don't have to share references from that company. You can share references from your previous other companies. Any advice for final interviews with an executive team? Yeah, be prepared for a presentation interview and typically a panel interview. And when you're interviewing at the executive level, it's the hypothetical questions that are going to come up a lot. And you truly, truly, truly need to know your differentiators. And typically for executive level roles, they only hire people that are perfect fits for what they want. And so make sure you have the full context of the role. Executive level positions have way less flexibility to take a chance on somebody or to let somebody grow into a role. They're going to want to hire somebody in an executive level role who's already basically done exactly what they want. I have a second interview tomorrow. Congratulations. You are interviewing with two people for 30 minutes. So I think that means two interviews for 30 minutes. Awesome. That's good luck. Can we use supervisors at volunteer work we do as references? I wouldn't do that because it's not like your real job if possible. I think he would raise a red flag. Do interviewers still generally have business cards? No. The last interview tends to be with upper management. How much detail do you go into with your domain experience? It depends on the questions that they ask you. What's older, 40, 50? I don't know. I mean, both of those seem young to me. They asked about my lack of experience for something that didn't seem to be related for the job. Were they just concerned about my job hopping? I have to look, I'd have to know more about your specific resume, but potentially. How old do you need to be to start getting creative with your resume? I mean, why do you need to get creative with your resume? Do you recommend the sandwich technique for weaknesses? Is that like compliment, feedback, compliment? I think that's what the sandwich technique is, right? Um, if that's what it is, I don't think so. Testing. Okay, cool. I'm back. All right. Sandwich, positive, negative, positive. No, I don't know. If the question is, what is your greatest weakness? You don't talk about like something you're good at and then something you're bad at and then something you're good at. Just answer the question of what's your greatest weakness. But what they care about is that you are doing something to improve on it over time. What are good things to highlight in the intro call with a recruiter? Great question. Ask them about more context on the role and then customize and tailor your answer based on what they're looking for. I don't believe we have another boot camp planned, at least of now, after this one. So we'll have to see what the turnout is and how many people sign up. All right, I'm trying to go all the way up to the top here.
Yeah, right now we have 8 signups, I believe.
Excellent. Keep it coming, everybody. We'd love to help you.
7 signups. 7 signups. Yeah. So yeah, so we do have several other boot camps that we will have going on. One that won't be necessarily focused on interviewing specifically, but maybe on the general 8-week job search. And I don't know when I'll launch that one yet. And so the pricing will be similar. We do it in the 300 to 500 range because we believe and we have seen that applying a lot of the techniques that Corey and the other instructors that we have share do result in outcomes that you're looking for. So that's generally finding a next job. Let me link you to the bootcamp again. I'm going to go ahead and paste it here.
So to sign up for the bootcamp, you're going to do it through our Eventbrite page.
Yeah.
And someone asked, what is required for the bootcamp? You need to have access to internet and
Literally just bring yourself.
a great positive attitude.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're also going to need about like 1 hour a week to do the homework and practice exercises. But that's all you really need.
Yes. So, yeah. Any questions for anybody here?
There's another one that says nearly every job I apply for online asks questions about race, sex, disabilities, veteran status, etc. I assume these are like one of those forms that you fill out, right? Whenever you apply for a company. Are these really collected anonymously or does the company see the answers? The company can see the answers typically if you opt in to share the information. And a lot of companies do it now because the diversity, equity, and inclusions metrics are very important for HR departments these days, and they also have to make sure that they are abiding by certain guidelines and regulations. So these things are protected. What's the word? These are protected data, whatever. I forget what the proper word is, but these are protected areas that employers are not legally allowed to use to make hiring decisions: race, sex, disability, and veteran status.
Yep. Protected class.
Protected class, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Can I
So,
share? Can I share a sample of work I am proud of during the interview? I think if it comes up, yes. But depending on your role, you may also provide a what's it called, project portfolio, in which they would also see some of the work. But that's also where your examples come from as well, or maybe like your tell me about yourself answer. You could highlight work and projects you are very proud of. How would you recommend going about choosing which roles to apply for when there can be so many? Do you have suggestions on how to narrow it down? Yes, assuming you want to get a job as fast as possible, I rec excuse me, I recommend you apply for a job that you currently already do. If you want to make a career switch, I totally support it. I myself made one, best decision of my life. But given the current economic environment, switching careers right now may be pretty difficult. So I would say try to target a job that you already do if you are looking to try to get a job as fast as possible. And also, some companies may be giving you job titles that do not match market or industry standards. So make sure you also kind of read the job descriptions and figure out and make sure that the job title you have now matches what occurs in the market as well.
Corey, did you want to answer Brian's question?
Where's Brian's question? I'm trying to scroll.
He
Oh, here
asks.
we go. Oh, I found it.
Cool.
Congratulations for getting farther along in the offer stages. That's awesome. I don't have any official offers yet, but I'm having trouble finding leads to roles in general outside of the scope. Okay, that makes sense. Since it's an employer's market, what is your suggestion for someone like me? Should I go for this interviewing bootcamp, or is there an offering that is more tailored towards building pipeline for those roles? So Brian, because I know who you are and your context and like your area, so Brian is a product manager, and for product management roles, it's very industry specific because it's obviously tied to the product that the companies care about. Which it's gonna matter more in terms of like industry experience for product manager roles than for any other type of position, which is good and bad sometimes. And it sounds like in your case, you feel like you're running into some barriers. So what I would focus on in your interviews and in your resume is focusing on the technology that you worked on for the government. And I know I saw your resume because you sent it to me last week. I would highlight and focus more and drive more of the attention away from the fact that you were at government, but more on the fact of what technology you were working on. So focus either on like the technology stack or the applications of the technology that you were working on for the government, and then try to match that up with that industry in tech. And should you do the boot camp? I think if you're getting to final, if you're getting interviews but not getting offers, then you should probably do the boot camp.
Yeah.
Um, Albert, are we recording and sharing this webinar to audience members?
Yes, this will be sent via email
Okay.
once I get it uploaded to the to our YouTube channel, and I'll be sending up follow-ups to folks here to convince them to try and join us for our boot camp. So we have 7 people, and we do mock interviews in between as well. And preference will be given to those who sign up for this boot camp to be part of Corey's mock interviews that we do on a weekly basis here in our community. So
Is it
yeah.
better to err on the side of being formal and polite, or should I go for establishing rapport and trying to be more casual in an interview with executives? I would probably say the latter. If it's your very first one, like it's always better safe than sorry, and then you can feel it out and go from there. Do companies really care about the location where you live? Some of them do, actually. Yes. Some companies may want you to to commute and come to the office. There's a big push now more towards hybrid as opposed to fully remote. So some companies will care. Also, typically smaller companies, startups, etc., they aren't able to provide visa sponsorships. So they would also want to make sure that you do not require any type of immigration support um, when you are applying for companies. Is it safe to answer questions around your gender, I guess? Uh, it depends on how comfortable you feel. So some of those forms let you opt out of answering that question, I think. Can you tell a recruiter you're willing to take a lesser title? Yeah, you can, absolutely. You would just explain why you would be open to doing that. Or one thing that I do is if they contact you for a role and then you interview for it and they call you and tell you that you're not moving forward, that's when you could actually inquire about it. You could say, hey, I know I was assessed at for the, marketing manager role. Is there another position potentially at a different level that I would be a fit for based on what you all have seen from the interviews? So that's like a good way to do it without sounding desperate. And you could talk about how you're just so excited about the company and, things like that. What about trying to get into a different industry? Example, tech to aerospace. Yeah, I mean, I think moving out of tech is easier than like breaking into tech. But for some jobs, like industry matters a lot. Industry expertise matters a lot, like product management roles, things like that. But outside of that, usually it's definitely doable. Definitely doable. Is there any risk to having demographic questions blank or choose not to answer? No. Christy, where is your question? There's so many. I just tried to scroll up. I couldn't find it.
Can't believe we still have 88 people here. This is amazing.
I can't copy it. I am on LinkedIn. Yes. If you type in Corey Hiramoto, it should pop up. I promise I'm a real person. Scout's honor. Real person.
This is not an AI generated webinar.
Yes, yes. I am not a bot.
Okay. Yep.
Christy, I'd love to answer your question. I'm watching this chat like a hawk. See if I can find it. Is a move from IT to cybersecurity in today's tight job market not recommended, or is it depends? Are you just moving? Are you moving industries, or are you talking about switching careers from IT to cybersecurity? I mean, doing a career switch is always going to take a longer time to get a job, and then in this market, when there's an influx of candidates as opposed to jobs, it's just going to be harder. But if you truly are unhappy and you're not unemployed, you don't have the financial constraints, I always say you should try to get a job that you love, regardless of the time. But sometimes you have financial constraints and you need to pay bills, you need to support your family, and so I also understand that as well. Okay. Christy, I'm still watching this, I promise. I will answer your question when I can find it. I'm scrolling up as far as I can.
All right. Getting
There
the
it
front
is. I
line.
found it. I found it. My resume has a lot of gaps on it, but during those gaps, I ran a part-time business that uses some of the same skills I use in a job. Very awesome. Love it. I run into several recruiters who want to ignore that as if it is invalid. Well, sometimes part-time jobs aren't don't carry the same amount of weight as full-time jobs. Sounds insane to me, but do you have suggestions on how I can put them at ease? Time gaps are typically 18 months to 3 years long. I've I've worked as a W-2 contractor. Okay. So you have gaps on the resume, but you're saying that you're trying to say that you were working part-time during those gaps. Okay. Assuming that the jobs that you were doing part-time are highly relevant for the job that you're applying for, um, you should be able to hopefully focus on either the skills or impact you were able to have in that part-time role, and then explain why you moved to part-time um, for those gaps for whatever period it may be. Um, that's probably like the concern that I would have is like, why does she take part-time roles when she could have continued to work full-time? Um, so maybe that's like the one thing you kind of need to address. If you are not looking in IT, information, finance, would you still recommend Bootcamp? I'm looking at state jobs. Yes, if you need to pass interviews, You should come to the boot camp. Absolutely. How much individual help does an attendee receive during the boot camp? Well, because it is a boot camp, we're trying to serve as many people as possible. We'll try to address as many concerns as we can when we have like the Q&A sessions at the end of each of our weekly webinars. So we will try to provide as much individual help as we can, but because we are trying to serve as many people as possible, you wouldn't be able to receive, total individualized coaching, which is why we're able to provide it at
I'm
this
happy to
low
host
price point.
office hours though, Corey.
Oh
If
yeah, okay. Or
that
if
doesn't happen.
Albert's able to host office hours as well.
I want folks to be able to come in and get their questions answered, and give them some of that private time. And if you want to email me during the boot camp, I'm happy to answer videos via Loom for your questions and so forth. So I'm happy to be your TA, Corey. So I'll be your TA.
Love it. Thank you. A
Yeah.
highly qualified TA. I have short-term jobs and some career gaps. How do I address this? Well, the biggest thing is like we would want to know why you have the gaps. And as long as you're able to show us that you were honing your skills and are ready to re-enter the workforce, that should hopefully do it. But you are going to need to give yourself more time to find a job, because generally when you are coming back from a break, it's going to take you a little bit longer to 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 find something. Um, your job was not part-time, it was in the same business that you owned and operated. It's you, so you owned your own business and then worked on it part-time. So yes, from a recruiting and like a hiring manager perspective, like working in your own business part-time during gaps, uh, unfortunately doesn't carry the same type of weight. Mostly not because we don't respect entrepreneurs, but it's because it's very hard to validate what you are saying is true or not, because there's no one that we can do reference checks with, basically. And also, one thing that I kind of hinted at earlier is the scope of the work is also what companies care about, right? So when you're trying to translate how you are doing something for your small business or your own business and how it would translate into a larger business or a larger corporation at scale, that's something that also needs to be incorporated as part of your answers. So you're going to want to talk about things that you've done for your own business, but then say how you would be able to scale that, or what solutions you would implement, or how you would think about doing it at a bigger scale for a larger company, because that's going to be their biggest concern is how you can match that scope. Okay. I think I ran out of water here, but I think I got everything, right? I think I got all the questions. We really, really do appreciate all of you taking the time to come here and invest in yourself. This is an investment in yourself. I've seen some of the chat saying that they aren't able to financially afford this right now. We totally understand. It is definitely an investment in yourself, but if you are trying to get a job as fast as possible in a super competitive job market, which we've established that it currently is, you're going to want to practice your interviews, even if it's not with us. So YouTube is a great tool. You can check out my YouTube channel, Albert's List YouTube channel. Other career coaches have great videos as well. But you do need to invest in your interviewing skills and practice a lot, like properly practice. Get the camera, set it up, turn it on, hit record, practice answering questions. I mean, you won't know what you may be doing wrong if you're practicing on your own, but still practicing is better than trying to wing it. And I know some people like to write out their answers, which I'm that way too. But even when you write them out, you need to hit the record button and practice saying everything out loud. Make sure that your timing is good. You're not talking for too long, for too short, right? Make sure you have the right type of examples. Maybe to make sure you're sharing the details that matter and not too much of the context. That's another place that people get tripped up.
Wow, 71 people here still at 6:30. So thanks y'all
Okay.
for joining. Any other questions? I'm gonna go ahead and drop this link one more time, because we truly want to help all of you out. And
How do I, okay, I need to open up a new tab here and then I can share my LinkedIn. Paste, paste. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. There we go. Excellent. Alrighty. Hopefully we can see you all next week and we can help you improve the interviewing skills and land more jobs this year.
Yes. All right. Well, cool. Oh, wow. Nice. We just got one more sign up, and that's always exciting. And so, yes, if you can go ahead and join us, here is the link. And if you want to join us as well, we're doing another, actually, hold on, that's not the link. That's, I think, something else. That's this. And if not, we have an mock interview event that happens this Wednesday, as well as a jobs report and inflation update webinar that happens Thursday. That one's our unique webinar that happens on a monthly basis with a finance professor at the University of New Mexico, who talks about the ongoing job numbers and what you can do to make sense of them as you interview and look for your next job. So without further ado, I look forward to seeing many of you next Monday, the 17th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And we'll be following up through the rest of the week with the video, as well as just gauging your interest and seeing how we can help you out. Until next time, until Wednesday, have a good day, and we will chat with all of you soon. Thanks so much, and thank you for your time. Bye.